Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So excited to talk about one of my favorite things to do in card making, and that is ink blend. But before we get into it, I want to share with you a free resource that I have. It is my ink blending guidebook, and it will take you through all of my tips and tricks about how to get the best blend, the products I recommend, alternative things that you can use, and then I also include so many ink blending combos with both Distress Oxide inks as well as 𝗥𝗘𝗖𝗥𝗚𝗜 dye inks. And so all of that, you can have this downloadable resource for free. Just click the link below and grab it. So right here are, in real life, the ink blended backgrounds that I made for that guide. I just wanted to show those to you real quick. There's so many options. So, okay, let's move on into some tips and tricks about ink blending. First of all, ignore the logo in the upper right-hand corner of the frame. This was some recorded footage of a live class that I had, and so that picture is just me, and it would be distracting if you were to stare at me up there. All right, so the first thing I do want to talk about is paper and ink blending brushes. So I have what's called the trifecta when it comes to getting the best ink blend. I believe that Bristol Smooth Cardstock, an ink blending brush, which has the bristles on it, just like the one I'm using, and Distress Oxide are the absolute best of the three combinations you can get, the smoothest blend possible. I've tried so many different combinations, and that's what I find. So here I'm using a foam tool on Bristol Smooth with Oxide, and you can see you're going to be able to blend that in really well, but the blend of the blending brush is quicker to get you to that result. Okay, so that's my trifecta. Now, the great thing about this trifecta, though, is that 2 out of 3 products will work. So any of those 2 combos is going to give you a really great blend. So if it's dye ink, Bristol Smooth, and blending brushes, or maybe it is a regular cardstock with Oxide and blending brushes, so on and so forth, the 2 out of 3 concept really does work here. So I'm walking you through just 3 primary colors of Distress Oxide that you can mix and get a full rainbow, almost a full rainbow. We're missing some violet there. But I wanted to show this to you because you don't need a lot. So if you're just starting out in your journey and you want to try oxides, I definitely want to recommend you get some primary colors. Maybe pick up 5 or 6 colors, and I think you're going to be pretty good for a while. Now here's a tip. When you're holding down a piece of cardstock to not get your fingers in it, make sure you don't run your brush over like I did there, because you're going to get a line, a stark line. So I just want to make sure I keep that tip in there. Now on the left, we have, I think it's cardstock. Yep, cardstock. And on the right is Bristol Smooth Cardstock. So you can see the blend. Now they're both very good. I like both of those. But I did want to show that side-by-side comparison so you can see the smoothness of the blend with the Bristol Smooth Cardstock. My favorite is Strathmore. It's a yellow cover. It'll be linked below if you want to check it out. You can also find it at big box stores. Maybe you have a coupon. Check that out. But I also like the way it reacts with water as well. Now, I've used regular cardstock for my ink blending, and I think that it works just fine, especially if you're going to use some die cutting and cut those backgrounds up. I actually have a whole video on my channel about how to use up some of those botched ink black backgrounds that you may have. So you could check that out as well. I'll put that at the end of this video. All right, let's move into some more ink blending tips. Now, I have it masked off on the left-hand side so that I am able to get a really stark line for my sunset. Now, when you're making, let's say, for example, this sunset, you want to bring the inks into each other. Okay, I don't really like to go too much back and forth, meaning long ways. I like to work in a circular motion to get those blended. Now, right here, you could say, oh, that's, we're working our way towards a blend, but it's not smooth and gradient. So what you're going to do is now, with really minimal ink or maybe just a little bit of yellow, bring the ink from the red into the yellow with the brush in circular motion, sometimes back and forth, but most of the time I like to do a circular motion. Now you can start to see that becoming more of an orange. I put a lot of the red down because I want to use that red to help me make that orange color. Now I'm going back to the yellow, and I'm starting from the bottom up and I'm bringing it into that already created orange. So you can see you're going to be able to make that more of like a thicker, smooth type of blend. So work your way back and forth into the colors a few times to get what you're looking for. I love drama on my ink blending, and I love a little bit of the shadow look. So I took a purple color right at the very edge, and this gives a really dramatic sunset kind of look. Okay, so that's just a little bit on the top there. I didn't do too much, and I think I just kept it a little bit of purple. I might have taken the red brush to go back and just blend it out a little bit, but that was it. Now we're going to move on to the water on the bottom. So when you're masking like this, you don't want to go over the edge of your yellow. So you can see I have the tiniest bit of yellow showing. And that's because if you put the mask too much into the white, you're going to get a stark white line between the two colors. And I don't want that, because then you would have to go back and remask, and it just wouldn't look as good. So just be very careful when you're laying down that mask. Now I'm choosing a more aqua color for the side of the water that would be closer to the shore, and a more bluish color, I believe that's salty ocean, that's going from the mask out. Okay, so I go back and forth, and that's a tip you want to keep in mind for your ink blending, is going back and forth until you get the blend that you want. Don't be shy with that, and don't worry about cross-contaminating any ink on your blending brushes. The blending brushes clean up so easily. It's not anything to worry about. I would say if you're using a foam tool, then you quite possibly could get a little bit of contamination that'll stay there. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to go back again with the water to give it a little bit more dramatic look, but right now I'm just going to get my sun of the sunset stamped out. So I am going to use some oxide ink here, and the reason I'm choosing oxide ink over dye ink is because oxide is a partial pigment ink, and it lays on top of other inks. A dye ink may not show up as well. I probably could get maybe an orange color to show up, but I find that the oxide is the perfect choice for this. Now I'm going to peel this back, and I noticed that my water is just a little bit too plain. It's too of the same color. So I go back in by putting down another mask, and I'm going to take a darker blue this time and just right on the edges there show that. Now, if you're looking at this from the shoreline, that's what you would see. You would see more of sort of a dark, well, I think you would. It's been a long time since I've seen the ocean. But more aqua towards the shore and more darker blue toward the horizon. So there we go. I have that. Now I'm going to finish off this card with just a few of the birds here from the stamp set I used. And I'm going to add a sentiment on its own off camera, but that's pretty much it. And I love this example for talking about ink blending because we're really using a large surface on a slim line, and we're still able to get a really nice blend. Now, before we go off this card, I do want to just add this, because I don't add this tip enough, of using my embossing pen to make like water squiggles. So you want to make sure your panel is completely dry when you're ink blending. And you can do that just by testing it out with some powder before you actually put down your embossing ink. So I'm going to heat set that, and then I have this really fun sort of realistic water look. My favorite to use though is the ultra thick embossing powder for this. That is so fun, and it looks exactly like water or ice if you're doing a winter scene. So I just finished this card off with a sentiment there, and that's it. But that was a lot of fun to ink blend. Now, I wanted to remind you that you don't have to just ink blend on card panels. You can also use these same concepts with die cuts. So here I have a large die cut, and I'm doing, I wouldn't call this ombre necessarily, but a dark blue into a violet into a light pink. And I'm using dye inks this time. So I have Bristol Smooth, that's the love is cut out of Bristol Smooth. I have my ink blending brushes, and I have my dye inks. And so this is where, you know, that alternating the combination a little bit comes into play, and it works beautifully. So here you can see this really lovely blended die cut. So just wanted to add that reminder there. Now I have a lot more detailed tips and tricks in that download that I have for you for free. If you want to check that out, click the link in the description box and you'll grab that up. And I don't necessarily recommend printing it. It will take up a lot of your colored ink, but it's a great thing to have. And also clickable links inside that PDF if you wanted to see some of those things up close. So I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I would love to have you join us in our monthly classes. We have one coming up January 18th. Check that out. We are going to be maximizing our supplies this month by making 10 different designs with one stamp set. And we're going to talk a lot about design theory and how we can get out of the box of what we purchase and then get way more out of our stuff. So join us live. You can pay what you can for the class. There's no set price. And I hope you'll join us. We have a lot of great fun, great prizes, and community. So hopefully we'll see you there. If not, I'll see you in the comments down below and in the next video. Bye-bye.